The presenting sponsor of this episode of Banana Island Living podcast is Banana Island School. Banana Island School is a school with happy kids and very high expectations. So why don't you check them out? Go to mail@bananaislandschool.com, go to the website www.bananaislandschool.com, or just check them out on Instagram @bananaislandsch. That's Banana Island SCH. Welcome to another edition of Banana Island Living podcast. My name is Shadi. Today's episode is an interesting one. I came across this gentleman through a previous guest who says he's led an amazing, fascinating life. I called him up, we had a chat, and we were on the phone for like hours. So yeah, it's my distinct pleasure today to introduce you to... Yeah, let him introduce himself. I'm not even going to say his name. You tell us.
My name is Uzo Nzeogu.
Okay.
Uzo Nzeogu.
Yes. And,
regular Nigerian.
Of course. No, don't let the name fool you. He's a Lagos boy. He's a Gregorian. He's a Maryland primary school. So yeah, that name is just photo trick. His Yoruba is even better than any Yoruba person's own. So yeah, and I'm really thrilled to be speaking to you today. And I'll just do a little bit of your bio if you don't mind, but a very small part of it, because you've done quite a lot. Now Uzo is one of those incredible people who, he started out as a fine artist, studied at University of Nigeria, Nsukka. And yeah, we were talking about this the last time we spoke, and were you under Anatsui, or the name of some of your lecturers was just mind-blowing?
I had Bruce Onobrakpeya in my formative years.
Oh, wow.
I learned something from him. It's not, you don't learn on account of teaching, but you watch somebody and
right.
make up your mind the kind of person you have and what you want to be, want your life to be. So there was Bruce Onobrakpeya and Anatsui. Those were the two major moving teachers I had.
Wow. But Nsukka was particularly lucky to have all these greats, and you were there 1978 to 1983. I mean, those were incredible years. I remember in Nigerian education, those years were awesome. I mean, we had Shoyinka in Ife, Koli Omotosho. All these people were still in Nigeria then. And Olarotimi, you know, yes. And now all of them are gone. But yes, you studied fine and applied art at University of Nigeria, Nsukka, after being at St. Gregory's College, the St. Gregory's College. And then you decided not to practice fine art. What happened?
Okay. Fine art was a decision I made for two reasons. I had a father who was an accountant, right, and I considered him stingy. And he paid my bills, but somehow he wasn't free with his funds. And I looked at it like, hey, with this kind of people, I don't want to be this kind of people. Now I know that he was quite circumspect, but as a teenager, you don't understand that your father has certain things in his scale of preferences.
Yeah.
The other part was that I looked at the whole world, and I've always looked like about 10 years ahead of me at every instance. Like I'm sitting down here, I'm 63 this year, and I'm looking at what will happen how will it be when I'm 73? And so when I was 17, I saw that many people wanted to be doctors, many people wanted to be lawyers, many people wanted to be engineers. And I hadn't made up my mind.
Yeah.
Then I went off sometime to watch Star Wars with a friend of mine at Plaza Cinema.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly my mind, I started looking at people like George Lucas, Aaron Spelling, Steven Spielberg, the Indiana Jones series,
Yeah.
And all of a sudden,
Yes.
I started thinking about animations and thinking about film productions. But then, of course, back in the 70s, most parents wanted their children to go become medical doctors or some other quote unquote professions that edify. Now, that was where we had a clash. That was where we had a clash. I definitely did not want to be an engineer or a medical doctor or any of those things. So somewhere along the line, out of rebellion, I chose to do fine arts. Moreover, I had a teacher whom I admired, Bruce Onobrakpeya, and he took me home every day when I left boarding house, and I had that long discussion from St. Gregory's College to Palm Grove Estate. So left quite a lot of impression. And so I ended up thinking more of fine arts, and I decided to take the exams. And
So
lo
you're
and
being
behold,
unusual for an artist. You decided to be pragmatic.
oh yes, actually I think I have always been pragmatic. It was later I realized that was some bad planning, because I later learned that when I came out of university and I found out that it was no longer, art was not a business model I was tailored to work with.
Yeah.
But I did go to university.
What, you didn't like the uncertainty of income or
Yes,
what?
yes, I hated the uncertainty. In fact, it was my very first exhibition immediately after youth service at the museum, National Museum. And after the exhibition, I had to go to my patrons to ask for my money, and I got all sorts of feedbacks.
Yeah.
It was at that point that it was at that
Stories.
point. Yes, it was at that point I said, hey, you're not going to feed your children.
This is not a business model you want to follow.
No, that was I drew the line, and at that point I just moved to my second choice, graphics, because I majored in painting and photography.
Right.
I went to my second choice, graphics.
Yeah.
For thereabouts, I met a couple of people who were really nice and who were forward thinking. A man called Dele Giwa, Dan Agbese, Yakubu.
Well, this is a nice lead into my second question. You were at Newswatch between 1984 and 1993. First of all, tell me, Dele Giwa his story has become like a legend now. What was he like as a person? What was he like to work with?
Okay. Dele I refer to as my Ebon. There was no love lost between him and I.
Okay. Explain that.
When you have a boss who was nice to you, but who will fire you at the drop of a hat.
He was professional.
Yes. That's the problem we have in the country, where people hire people based on where they come from, based on their relationship and proximity and stuff like that. Well, Dele Giwa employed me. And he wasn't like, he didn't employ me because he liked me. You have your bits and you must deliver. You don't deliver, you're out of the door. You're just out. And so I worked with him for 8 years. I worked with Newswatch for 8 years and 6 months. In those 8 years and 6 months, was the happiest time in my life. The happiest time in my life, because I didn't feel more responsible than I needed to be. So both as an artist, as a color separator, as a production manager, as an art editor, I ran 3 magazines. There was Echo, there was Quality, and there was Newswatch. And I didn't feel put upon at any point.
Right, because you were working with professionals or what?
Oh, yes. We were all, we were a newsroom. The newsroom experience is a totally different experience. Everybody lets their hair down. And we had the women in the office who cooked. The nights we need to sleep in the office, everybody sleeps in the office, And then the women will take money from the account department, now they make meals, and they will eat. And before you know what's happening, you've done 2 days in the office without even noticing it. That's where I think.
Gosh. Now, where was your office? Where was your office at that time?
At Oregon, 62 Oregon Road.
Go, wow. Mm-hmm. And you had Dele Giwa, you had Ray Ekpu as well?
Yes.
I mean, they've gone down in history. Yeah.
Yes. The first managing director of Newswatch was Dan Agbese.
Oh, wow.
Within the first 2 months, or even month, Dele Giwa, they had their first boardroom squabbles, and the musical chair changed. So Dele Giwa became the editor-in-chief.
Right.
And Ray became the deputy editor-in-chief.
Was it very competitive in the newsroom there?
I would. No. It wasn't.
Or they were all just professional. They were just.
Yeah, they were all so very professional, and everybody learned. Everybody knew their bit. You didn't have, there was nobody had time.
Right.
We had a relationship that was quite amorphous. You could walk into the editor-in-chief's office and tell him what is on your mind. There were no ladders. You didn't have to go through anybody to walk into the editor-in-chief. You pick up the phone and you call the editor-in-chief and tell him, hey, this is what I don't agree with you on this. I know quite a number of people who disagreed with Dele Giwa and somewhere along the line got fired because for some reason they were wrong. So I got into that fray a couple of times.
Okay. But I mean, this sounds like the golden age of journalism in Nigeria. But I mean, who owned Newswatch at that time?
Yeah, it's a Nigerian thing. The only person who can tell you how Newswatch came about, what the structure was right now, is a gentleman called Dele Giwa. Dele Giwa was...
What does he do?
He's a lawyer. He worked with Gani Fawemi. And they structured the articles and memorandum of association, Newswatch.
Yes.
However, after Dele Giwa's death, a whole lot of things, there were a whole lot of mixes that even those of us who were staff never really understood after that. Because initially we were given the impression that the staff had 5% shareholding. So almost all of us then, we were young. I think I was 24, 23. We all looked like, oh yeah, we got shares in this business. But when we realized that we didn't have shares.
You were working your guts out.
Oh, you did everything. We did everything. That was actually...
When did you find out you didn't have shares? When did you find out you didn't have shares?
I never found out that I didn't have shares. Never found out. I realized it that... I realized it when Newswatch started going under. When Newswatch started bleeding.
Right. So why did they even start going under? What happened? What actually happened?
Okay.
We're going to go into Dele Giwa's demise, but why because it was such an amazing magazine. I mean,
it was. Newswatch started going under after Dele's death.
Why do you think that was?
I was the hands-on deck person in Newswatch. The magazine, immediately after the editorials, I was given a cover. And because I had a cover to produce, so I had, by the time I became the art editor, I had a compographic, a lithographic, the arts room, and the photography departments. They all answered to me as the art editor. And somewhere along the line, you saw everything as they played out. So we had a situation where I'd get a call, oh, change that cover, or change that story. And Nigerians are not very stupid. If they think or perceive that what you are giving them is not what it is. So
it's not authentic.
Yeah. So I had my issues with my bosses, especially when we say bleeding staff. People like people in Tell magazine walked out on us in 1991, and I remember one night
they went to set up a new magazine.
Yes, so I had to go at one point to go hire staff. Midnight, I mean my production, I poached staff. I walked into newspapers and called 2, 3 people and told them, I said, listen, I need to produce this magazine and I have these problems and I need you to
Tonight.
come and work with Newswatch from today now. And they go like, what about salaries? I don't worry about the salaries. I'll negotiate your salary tomorrow morning. I did that. So especially when
Amazing.
Tel moved with
Yes.
virtually all my key production staff one night.
Oh,
And
no.
and that night, I recall driving through the newspapers, magazines. I think it was the Sunday newspaper, the Sunday Times, run by Elio Bassi. So I went there here and there, and I approached his staff. I simply told him, hey, how much do you want to get paid? He says, oh, in those days, about 5,000, 6,000 per annum, and you're on a salary of 4,005. I'll give you your salary, and then the following morning I'll march into the editor-in-chief's office and say, I hired this person, and this.
At this price.
Yeah. And it went on like that. But it had its toll on me.
Yes, of
and
course.
At some point, even the directors,
it was unsustainable.
Yeah, even the directors lost sight of the fact that what was going on was actually of their own making.
Yeah.
And so it's like when you turn around and you lash out at your own people.
Yeah.
So on one of those occasions, I just resigned. That was it.
But you were there when Dele Giwa was killed.
Oh, yes.
You were there when Dele Giwa was killed. So talk to me about that day.
Oh, well. Dele Giwa's death, one of those things. We were preparing a cover on Wole Soyinka's Nobel Prize. And Dele, I was supposed to produce stuff and bring it to Dele's house for 10 a.m.
Okay.
I worked in the office till very late. And I went off to a nightclub, the Roof nightclub. And then I got back about 5:30 in the morning and slept off and overslept.
Yeah.
And by the time I got to Dele's house, they were pulling him out.
Wow.
So by the time I got to his house, they were pulling him out and taking him to the ambulance to First Foundation. It was a gory sight. But basically, Dele died October 19th, 1986. And thereafter, everything started going down.
Yes, of course. Were you all, the remaining people at Newswatch, were you all sort of scared then to write anything?
We were not scared. Recall that after Dele Giwa died, we did a story, the Cookie's report, or the Cookies report, I can't remember. And we were banned, I think, for about 6 months. We were not scared because Dele had infused in us a kind of I mean, I was doing some 2 nights a week to produce Newswatch, and I didn't notice it.
Yeah.
So by the time Dele died, it was a given. It was a lifestyle. We produced a magazine, quality magazine, and we stood by it.
Yeah.
But thereafter, the quality started dropping, and I was there, and I think I was well educated to know that, hey, this isn't
what we're.
And then the rest of the people, suddenly the sales. You can imagine a man who could go to the printers twice a week to be able to satisfy the market, only for you to start having some returns because people are not buying. They say you can't make a monkey out of God's gorilla. So each time you made a monkey of the people.
So you were aware that the quality was not good. You were aware that the quality was dropping.
That was exactly why I walked out on them. It wasn't.
Yes.
You see, that's a point in my life that I've always been grateful to God for. I have been grateful to God for what I call a knee-jerk reaction to a statement made by a director. And I turned around and I looked at him and stood up in the middle of editorial meeting and I said, I see that you don't have confidence in me. I've designed and redesigned your magazine 3 times this year, and yet we're not getting returns. Now you wake up in the morning and you call an advertising agency to come and redesign your magazine, right? And I say, well,
wow. Okay.
So I say, well, it shows that you don't have any confidence in me. And if you don't have any confidence in me, I have no business being here. And I got up and I said, gentlemen, you will receive my letter of resignation tomorrow. And this was in an editorial meeting. I got up from that editorial meeting and walked out. And it wasn't the last day. The following day, I gave him a letter of resignation and I stayed for 3 more months because that was what I was supposed to do. And that was it. I was gone. But I'll let you into that experience, why I think that was the most, that was the pivotal point in my life. I had been married for a year. I had a baby boy who is now 32 or 33, I don't know. I guess there was a mixture of frustration and there was a mixture of what I was kind of uncomfortable. Because you have a salary.
Right.
You are spending that salary on yourself.
Yeah.
Then you get married. So you got a wife, you are sharing the salary.
Yep.
Then you have a baby.
Yep.
Then you're sharing
the baby.
Then there's a house. Then there's a housemaid.
Expenses times 3.
No, times 5. There's my housemate and my sister and my sister-in-law. All of a sudden, it was choking me. But I couldn't place it. It was later on that I realized what was happening. So I snapped in the editorial meeting, and I walked out. So when I walked out, I went downstairs. There was a bar somewhere. I had a beer. People were coming around telling me, "Uzo, you don't do this. You don't do this." And I was like, I've already told my bosses that I'm leaving. I won't take my word back. But I was worried that I had made that decision.
Yeah.
I was really worried that I had made that decision.
You had liability at home.
I had a wife of less than 1 year. I had a baby.
Yeah.
And I was like, how are we going to do this? How am I going to tell this girl that I've walked out of my job? I know I can get another job, but
I'm now unemployed. Yes.
So I started walking home with trepidation. I get to my house and I looked, she greeted me and I greeted her and she goes, and I told her, I said, honey, I've made one of the worst mistakes of my life. And she goes, what? She goes, what mistakes? I said, I've just walked out of my job. I just resigned out of anger. She stood there and looked at me again. She said, I was expecting her to explode. And she stood there and she looked at me. What did you just say? I said, I have walked out of my job and I don't have a job. You know what this woman did? She just went on her knees and she started thanking God. I said, what are you praying for? She said, Uzo, I have watched you work for these guys for 1 year. You kill yourself for me and the children and the child and these people. And I don't see what you're getting out of it, but you love your job.
Oh, how lovely.
And she says, you know what? If you work like this for yourself, for us, the sky is the limit. And that's why I am here today.
Your wife, I mean, she had faith. She had real faith in you.
In fact, she was one that had the faith. I didn't have faith.
The love of an African woman.
So immediately my 3 months was over. Whatever money I had, I rented an office in Unepan. I started going there every morning. I would arrive there by 7 o'clock in the morning and sit on a table I had.
Waiting for work?
And I started wondering. And from there, I'd go out. But I now got jobs. And I made quite good with them.
No, but I mean, now, I just can't believe your journey because you were in the newspaper business at the peak of it, the golden age of magazines and newspapers, and you went on to do your own. What do you think of the state of play now in Nigeria? Because, I mean, we have quite a few publications, not to talk of the online ones. What do you think?
There was a time when you'd stop at Ikeja bus stops and people would gather around the vendors to read free readers.
Maybe not so much.
But today, basically everybody has a palm top or a digital. So you can get everything. So by the time I started publishing, I think my first two issues were hard copies. But by 2006, I'd gone fully
online.
Yes,
so was that with your energy
News?
Energy News, yes.
So I worked mainly as a production man for other newspapers.
So, but who are those doing what you're doing now? Who are those? Because you've left Nigeria. You've made a new life.
That's all gone now because with my mobile phone, I can edit.
Yes.
I don't need a photographer. I can pick and my news. I can actually do my news on Chat GPT.
GPT, yes. So what remains on your bucket list?
Oh,
what is it that you still want to do? Because you've lived in Nigeria, you've done everything in newspaper, you've done everything in color.
I haven't done anything. I haven't done anything.
Okay, what do you want to do? What do you still want to do?
My bucket list still goes on and on. I have Yellowstone to go see. I like to see the old Giza. I'd like to go to the Serengeti.
Oh wow, yeah, but that's in Africa, yeah.
Oh yes, I mean it's like I know what I want to do. I'd like to go to Yellowstone, Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
I'd like to go to the Serengeti and spend during the migration and spend time watching the animals, maybe do some drawings.
Yeah.
Maybe do some drawings. Those are the kind of things that will make me happy.
So you haven't left your art behind, sure?
No. It's just bad business model. It was just bad.
Okay.
I wasn't. I didn't have. I didn't have. I don't have the temperament of a Bruce Onobrakpeya. I don't have the temperament of Anatsui.
Yeah.
You see, what will make me come back to this is that at the beginning I did tell you that I had an experience and most that leads to what I would call post-traumatic stress disorder. I had a childhood. I saw the war, Nigerian war. I was in Biafra. I lost 3 years of education. And all my life, it has guided me that my children should never see the kind of thing I saw during the war.
Right.
So right from the moment I started thinking of...
So you're not a believer in the IPOB project?
That's stupid. That's stupid. Yeah. I need to say that outright because I was 7 years old when the war started. And my parents were in England. So I was like farmed around like an orphan. I lost 3 years of schooling.
Yes.
And I came out of it. I'm so strong now that you can't, like Clint Eastwood would say, you can't piss on my back and tell me it's raining. So for me, I don't mind restructuring Nigeria.
Yeah, I mean, everybody agrees on that, I think. Yeah.
But what you need to understand is that the people who are talking don't even understand what they're talking about.
Of course not. I think it's more emotive than practical.
No,
and I think it's maybe just a matter of equity, I guess. They just want
no.
equity.
I don't think it's equity.
Are they serious?
Not as serious. But you see, because they say you can't give what you don't have.
Right.
Right? Yeah. Compare Nigeria to Rwanda.
Yeah.
Right? Nigeria went through a genocide. Nigeria went through a war crime in Asaba. Now, after all said and done, Rwanda came back, and what you hear in Rwanda is you are a Rwandese. You're not a Bukutu or a Hutu or a Bukutu or whatever.
A Tutsi or Hutu.
Now, there in Nigeria, you have that our leaders who claim that they went to war to keep Nigeria one have not at any point addressed the reason why they went to war. That means they don't understand. That is what tells me.
No, but I think you're being a little bit selective on that. No. It's not that. It's just that which part of our consciousness have they ever examined? This is not just the war; it's everything.
No, but it's everything.
We're not one for reflection. So
that is exactly.
They just do as if things didn't happen. That's who we are.
You see, that's exactly why. That's exactly why I upped and left. By 1999, I had started planning this move to America. By
Wow.
1999, my last child was born in 1999, and I said, hey, you start working to get these kids. They have to, I always plan for them to have an option, not even me.
Yeah. It's
So,
heartbreaking though.
so it is heartbreaking.
I'm of the Kunta Kinte school.
Okay.
I'm totally, of that, and people will say, oh yes, you've got that privilege because you have a choice. You can, but I just think it's so heartbreaking that we have to do that. And
I believe that everybody has to have a choice.
I guess so. But the point is, the choice is making us not look after what we have. Because you feel there's a choice, you just bail.
No.
And I think,
No.
I think so. If you have no choice, you're going to work on it.
No, you see,
It's like a marriage. It's like a marriage.
Yes.
If you know that you have to work at it, there's no shortcut. There's no divorce.
I agree
Boy,
with
you will
you.
knuckle under. But if your eyes are constantly outside and you're having a girlfriend just in case this one doesn't work out. Anyway, let's put that to one side.
Okay.
Okay, so Sunday morning, church or chill?
I church and I chill. Most times I try not to church in Nigeria.
But what church do you go to in the US?
I'm Catholic. Over the years, I sit down on Sunday mornings out here. I think I do find spirituality.
Okay, but not necessarily organized religion.
It doesn't have to be. Just that everybody who has come into church has come to pray, to find spirituality. You can find spirituality. Here in Nigeria, the church is like a celebration, a party. People come to show their
It's
cards.
For community. It's for community.
The pastors turn it into...
It's for networking.
Is it?
Well, that's
is
what
it?
A lot of the churches are.
I have friends.
Yeah.
I have friends who are pastors who drive Rolls Royce.
Yep. And their congregation seems to like it.
Yes, for them. And so I go, if I go to church in Nigeria, it's like a market emptying out or emptying in.
Yeah.
And I can't find the spirituality. So I like to church out here on Sunday morning, but if I'm in Nigeria, I chill.
Oh, chill. Okay, gotcha. So who do you admire most?
I don't admire anybody.
No, not even.
I love Jesus Christ.
Oh, that's a good one. And why do you like Jesus Christ so much? I said that's a good one. Well, why do you like? What is it about Jesus that you relate to?
Sometimes I go back and I kind of take that man and I say, what does it take for somebody to change the thinking, the civilization for thousands of years?
Yeah.
For, time and again, new people come out with new ideas about that concept of being who he was or who he projected at his time. Now, if I take ordinary human beings, I can say, oh, Mahatma Gandhi. I can say, oh, Martin Luther King. Oh, I can say, what's his name, Nelson Mandela. And for some people who don't even understand, I have people like Julius Nyerere and the man of Zambia, Kaunda. I can go on and on and on and on. Yeah, I can go on and on and on, and I can look at a whole lot of people and I say, virtually everybody I have met has been a product of his own genetic defects or the circumstances of his time.
Yeah.
So if you find somebody who has a genetic, who is prone to be quiet, sit down and let's see them like Mahatma Gandhi, that kind of quiet resistance, it works for him. But you also find people like Malcolm X who just wouldn't take it. Yeah? So I find out someone like Nelson Mandela who can sit in prison for 27 years and refuse.
Job.
But I also find out that there were some people like, there are people like Gaddafi.
Yeah.
For one reason or the other, they instill fear on their position. So I can't admire anybody because I see it as, your makeup, where you find yourself, and how your makeup allows for you to deal with that situation at that point. So I look at Jesus Christ and I say, wow, I got me a guy here who I can look at what he says and how he behaves. And I think it's not being a Christian, it's not playing politics with Christianity. It's just knowing that, hey, I have some principles to live by, and this guy kind of shows me the way to the kind of principles I'd like, of the life I'd like to live. I get that. Period. So I don't admire anybody.
So what are you reading at the moment?
The last thing I read was the Economic Hitman.
Okay, yeah, I read that. Yeah, one of my previous guests recommended that I read that, and that was a real education for me.
Oh yeah, I read Economic Hitman.
Confessions of an Economic Hitman.
One of my favorite authors is Malcolm Gladwell.
Okay, The Power of Blink.
But Malcolm, David and Goliath, The Outliers.
Yeah. I'm just a bit skeptical of all these people who come up with all these. It just seems rather glib, but I don't know. What do I know?
So I listen to podcasts.
Yes.
I listen to mainly Harvard IdeaCast, Harvard Business Review, and I love to listen to a feel-good preacher called Joel Austin.
Okay, yeah, I've heard about it.
So I'm not reading.
I hope you are impressed that I refrain from asking if you listen to our podcast.
I listened to the last one with Dosanwa.
Okay.
And I'm impressed. I like it. I like it. And you did ask him a question that I delved into in my spare time.
Which was that?
Bringing Nigerian arts back for him.
Okay, yes.
Wale Soyinka
yes. What are your thoughts on that?
The day you build a museum, and the day 10 people decide to use AK-47 to come and access what you have in that museum, they will access it. And those because I do remember that the National Museum had about 90 pieces of artwork
stolen
in the beginning.
Yeah.
And if we go back today, you probably might not see up to 15.
A lot of the Ugbo stuff.
The people who...
Yeah, but that is changing, though, because nowadays they can't even sell those things because the world is alive to these things. And those who took them are having difficulty selling them.
You see, my problem with that, I hear you, my problem with that is that, yes, the world is changing. But I also see a situation where you have the underground art market.
Yeah.
See, today you can find some of the artworks stolen by Nazis.
Yeah, I know. There's
still in private museums.
Yes, but you see,
if you have Ubuku, piece, or Queen Idia piece, stolen, and you have a Russian who's willing to pay you the money just to keep it in his private museum.
Yeah, and be looking at it.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone. Are the people in government really sincere about bringing those things back and about saving those things in Nigeria?
They are. I mean, what this gentleman was talking about is that you're looking at them as works of art, that they're not works of art. And if you look at it through a different prism, then the whole argument is a different framing, isn't it? It's a different framing.
I'm saying, whether it's spiritual or whether it's work of art, what it means to me is what it means to me. If somebody from Russia comes here and is willing to give somebody in Nigeria, for today's Nigeria, willing to give somebody $200,000 to break into that museum and get him 3 or 4 pieces. Not to worry how he'll get it out.
But they're breaking into museums in Belgium. There's some pieces of art that are still missing till today in front of everybody with all their security, They're still doing it.
You see, the thing is that if you can break into the museum in England and take them away, you can actually find a dedicated investigative force that will try to get it. But if you break into a museum in Nigeria, in Benin City, and you cut those things, how many of those farmers can you get? You don't have a police force that will determine to find it. You don't have a security system that will determine to protect it. You don't have a government official that understand what you are talking about, whether it's art or whether it's spirituality. So you're dealing with a system that is upside down.
Yeah.
And so if you go back, no matter how you build a museum in Benin City, in Oba's compound, the day they decide that, okay, fine, 200 of us are coming here, and we are going to spend 3 hours to get those things. You need a battalion of soldiers whom you cannot move from Ugeli to Benin by the time they finish. I'm seeing Nigeria the way I see it.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say don't do it. Take the Minister of Culture, for instance. How does the Minister of Culture and Information, whatever he is called, does he understand the concept of Benin art from the angle that the keepers of that art will understand it? Today, the current culture, the minister.
That's why they're saying that it's not even going to government. Governor wants to get involved, but it's going to its home, its spiritual home, and these guys will guard it with their lives because it's important to them. You know, they don't want it to be in a government thing. They don't want it. They want it to be in the palace where they worship these things. You know, it's part of their spirituality. So anyway, let's drop that. So what are you listening to? What music are you listening to?
Yeah, this guy called Gato Barbieri.
Okay.
Gato Barbieri.
Never heard of him.
I listen to, as of today, I'm listening to a guy called Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Oh, wow. He's more of a theater man, isn't he?
That's Jesus Christ Superstar.
Okay, yeah.
Joseph and his amazing Technicolor Dream Coach.
Yes. There was a silly song that we used to sing when we were young. Georgie Best, Superstar. He looks like a woman and wears a bra.
Yeah. I'm listening to Andrew Lloyd Webber.
Yeah.
And I'm reading the script written by a guy called Sir Tim Rice.
Okay, yeah, the lyricist. He was a lyricist.
Yes.
And they worked very well together for years.
Yes. Those are the two people I'm dealing with now. But I've gone through the whole gamut.
Fascinating, yeah. So what are you watching on Netflix or HBO or whatever it is they watch in the US?
That's another hard one because I don't watch.
You don't? That's fine.
A news junkie.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're a newspaper man. Of course you'll be a newspaper junkie. Yes.
First and foremost, I don't do seasons.
Right, yes. I mean,
so because my attention span is so short.
Yes, I mean.
Yes, I don't have the patience for seasons. If you can't give me one good movie, forget it.
It's too much commitment, you know. It's just too much commitment.
Yes.
Okay, so describe yourself in 3 words.
I am dependable.
Yeah, okay.
I am dependable.
Yes.
I am trustworthy.
Oh, that's good.
Trustworthy.
Yeah.
If I tell you, I will do it.
Yeah.
Take it as a given. It's not open to discussion.
I think your family would appreciate it.
Then the last one is that that's why I have a family. Then I am blunt. Over the years, I've been able to know myself and been able to handle myself and live with myself.
And like you said, you still have a family, so you can't be doing too badly.
Well, I'm surviving.
Yes. Okay. So tell me a joke.
Oh, joke. I had one yesterday morning from Joel Austin. He said a Catholic, a Baptist minister, and an evangelist, died at the same day, and they went to heaven.
Okay.
And Peter said to them, "Sorry, your rooms are not ready right now, but do me a favor. He called Satan and said, Satan, can you make a room for a couple of hours while I make up rooms for these guys for a couple of hours while I set up a place
I get theirs ready.
And Less than 1 hour, Satan calls and says, hey, Peter, I better come and take these guys back. Here, the Catholic is forgiving everybody. The Baptist is saving everybody. And the evangelist has set up a fund to cool the whole of hell. Nah, get these guys out of hell. So I heard that yesterday from Joel Austin.
Oh, that's brilliant. And it's a clean one, too. You've done really well. Thank you so much. You've been such a fascinating guest. How do people get hold of you if they want to get hold of you?
My email address, uzo.nzeogu@gmail.com.
Okay. How do you spell
or
Uzo
uzonzeogu@hotmail.com. Nzeogu.
Okay. And are you on LinkedIn or Twitter or?
Yes, I am on LinkedIn as Uzo Nzeogu. LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter as Energy News.
Okay, so we'll definitely be checking you out.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time, the effort. Thank you. God bless.